Okay, I guess a couple of interesting things happened at work today. One thing was that I might still be able to hook up with LaFonda. I mean, probably not. I really don't know. But maybe there's still a chance there. And then the other thing that happened is I got scolded like a little kid by this Indian girl I work with. And I don't even know why, really. I mean, I'm assuming it's probably just because I'm ugly. You know, I'm an unattractive, undesirable man, and she probably just wanted to put me in my place just to make sure that I know that I'm beneath her and I would have no chance with her because I think what might have happened is maybe she overheard my other coworker, Jamal, talking about how she likes me. I don't think he actually thinks that, but he has been for the past, I don't even know, the past couple weeks or something. He always like kind of jokes with me about how she likes me, about she totally wants me, and all that. And maybe he's been also joking with other coworkers about that, saying that she likes me. I'm guessing. And then she overheard him joking about that. And so she just wanted to make sure that I knew that that's not true. I'm guessing that's what happened, but I really don't know. And yeah, so all of that, like the reason that Jamal jokes like that, that all stems back to my brain is fried right now. I can't. Ugh. It all stems back to like a couple weeks ago, however long it was, when Jamal got me to go talk to this girl. So I tried to talk to her, and ever since then, she's been a little bit more friendly to me than usual, I guess. Or not even more friendly, really, just that, before I ever talked to her, she basically just never acknowledged my existence. But after I talked to her, since then, when I first come into work or when I leave, she'll say hello or say goodbye. And that's basically it. So that's what I think happened. So yeah, she pretty much was yelling at me. And it was pretty embarrassing, honestly. But I'll get into all that in a minute. But first, I want to give a quick update on the whole situation with LaFonda, which I'm sure that's what you're all more interested in. So, I saw Jamal today at work, and this was the first time I've seen him since I went to that party with him and everything. So, he asked me about if anything happened with LaFonda, if I actually hooked up with her. And oh, by the way, the first thing he said when we first saw each other today was he actually apologized for leaving the party without me. Because, if you remember, he was supposed to be giving me a ride home, and then he just kind of disappeared. And I ended up having to walk part of the way home. And, I called my mom to come pick me up, basically. So it wasn't really a big deal, but I wasn't really that upset about it, but it was still pretty cool that he wasn't, I guess, completely inconsiderate because he did at least apologize about that without me saying anything about it. So that was pretty cool. And he said the reason he left was he went to go hook up with some girl, which I kind of figured that was probably the reason because I did notice he was talking to some girl at the party, but yeah, it wasn't a big deal anyways, but about the whole thing with LaFonda, so I told him what happened, that basically no, nothing that nothing happened between me and her. So I told him that and he was just like, "Oh, that's too bad, man." But he seemed to think that LaFonda would still probably be down if I was still down. So I told him, like, okay, yeah, I'm still down. So he texted her to try to set something up, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that was like this morning, like kind of early, and she never texted him back. as far as I know. By the time we had left work, she never texted him back. So I'm guessing she's just not interested, which is kind of how I figured the way things left off. So I really don't think anything's going to be happening there, but I guess there's a possibility, but yeah, I don't know. And yeah, the other thing, I tried to ask Jamal again, like, what is the deal? Like, what's going on here with LaFonda? I was like, just for real, be honest with me, okay? Are you paying this girl? Or are you giving her some, like, why? Why would she be willing to do this with me? And, he just kept repeating what he has been saying about it. He was just like, no, she's just a hoe. She's just a hoe. That's it. So, whatever. I'm still willing to get down and dirty with this girl, with LaFonda, if the option is there. I think I probably kind of missed my chance. And not really due to any fault of my own. You can listen to the whole video about when I went to the party in the hood if you want to know more about that. But basically, yeah, some guy came up to us, started talking trash, I guess. I don't really know. I don't know what he was saying. LaFonda kind of got in a fight with him, and then she just left the party. And I was just sitting there like, okay. I mean, yeah. So that sucks, but maybe something will still, maybe it's still going to go down. I don't know. Maybe, like at this point, I really don't know. I'd say it's unlikely, but it could happen. And I guess I'll just find out more about it when either Jamal texts me or, next time I see Jamal at work, I can ask him about it. So later on today during the workday, Jamal and this other guy I work with, who is basically like a new guy at work. I don't really know him that well. They asked me to come out back with them and smoke. And I've done this a few times now because Jamal pretty much always wants to smoke anytime it gets slow. And he always asks me to smoke with him. Sometimes I do, sometimes I decline, but I do, I smoke with him sometimes, and he always provides the materials. So I tried to give him like $10 the other day because he keeps letting me smoke for free, but he wouldn't take it. He wouldn't take my money. So it's whatever. I guess he just enjoys the company. So we were out back behind the building and we were smoking. And of course, Jamal just had to start telling this other guy who, this was the first time I ever worked with this guy. I don't know if it was his first day, but it was the first time I've seen him there. And of course, Jamal starts telling this guy about the party and how all those girls were twerking on me. And, Jamal's laughing, the other guy's laughing. The other guy laughed a lot. Jamal kind of chuckled when he said it. I maybe smiled a little bit, but it's just like reminiscing about a kind of funny situation, but the other guy thought this is the funniest thing in the world, and I don't know. I mean, I don't even know why I'm bothering to go over this part of the day, but I don't like that guy. It's whatever. He's okay. He's okay, but that's not a good first impression. But anyways, yeah, so we smoked out behind the building, and then after we got done smoking, we went back to work, and then a little bit later, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, something like that, I had to go into the building to get some gloves because they keep all the supplies that we got to use inside the building. But yeah, so I went in to get some gloves, and the Indian girl was in there because she works at the desk. And it was just me and her in there. And so the first thing she said was, "Why do you smoke with those guys?" And I kind of tried to pretend that I didn't know what she was talking about because I didn't realize that she knew what we were doing when we went back behind the building. I didn't even know she realized we even went back there in the first place. I mean, I guess it's not like we were being stealthy about it or anything like that. So it's kind of, yeah, obvious, you know. I'm not surprised she knows what we were doing, but when she asked me about it, I was kind of trying to pretend that I didn't know what she was talking about. So I just said something like, "What? What do you mean?" Then she said, "I know you were smoking drugs back there. Why do you do that?" And before I could even say anything, she was like, I mean, she pretty much just started chewing me out. She was like, "You shouldn't do that. That's why you can't find a good job." And I remember she also said something like, "You're never going to find a wife like that. Women don't like guys that do drugs." Which, I wanted to tell her, smoking weed isn't the reason that girls don't like me. It's my bald, misshapen cranium. Of course, I didn't actually say that, but yeah, I don't remember everything she said, but she was just pretty much scolding me like she's my mom or something. Like or like she's the teacher and I'm a little kid that just got caught doing something he's not supposed to be doing. And I still haven't really talked to her much after that one time when I kind of sort of tried to hit on her. And that wasn't even really much of a conversation if you think about it. Like, I talked to her for 5 minutes maybe. Yeah, like it was barely anything. And we just talked about like school stuff pretty much for 5 minutes. 10 minutes at the most. But probably more like 5 minutes. And there was one other time when she was working on homework, I guess, and she showed me the problem she was working on, and she asked me if I knew how to solve it. It was some kind of finite element analysis or something like that. So I just looked at it for 5 seconds, and I was just like, I don't know how to do this. So that's pretty much the extent of how much we've talked. Other than that, yes, she'll say hello or goodbye or whatever, but, that's pretty much the extent of all of our interactions. So we've barely even interacted before this moment. So I don't know why she was acting like I personally offended her by smoking weed behind the store. So, like I said, that's why I think maybe she heard Jamal saying something about her liking me or something like that. And so she just had to do something to make sure that I know that's not true. And she probably wanted to make sure that everybody that was there knows that it's not true. She wanted to make sure everybody knows it because she was pretty much yelling at me. So I'm sure everybody else could hear from outside. Or I think, another theory, what it could have been, I'm guessing it might have been that special time of the month for her. And maybe she was just looking for a target to unload on. Or at least that might have been a contributing factor because I am obviously the easiest target there if she was just looking for a punching bag, because Jamal would probably just tell her to fuck off and quit on the spot. And the other guy, I mean, I don't really know. He's new, so I don't really know much about him, but he doesn't seem like as much of a pushover as I am, probably. But this girl has been around me enough by now to know that I'm a pretty shy and quiet guy, so I think she just wanted an easy target. And of all the options available to her, that's me. I was the easiest target. I was the biggest loser in the building. But yeah, when she was scolding me like a child, I pretty much just figured, well, that's it for this car wash job. Because remember, this girl is the owner's niece. So if she wants me gone, then he would probably fire me. So yeah, she was scolding me, just really being a bitch, honestly. And I don't remember what all she said because she was, she was letting me have it. She was letting loose. She was just like, just why would you do that? You're never gonna find a better job. You're never gonna what are you, some kind of drug addict? That's why you're such a failure. She was saying stuff like that. She was going off for a good minute. She was going off for a good minute. And I don't remember every single word she said. And I don't want to. I wish I could forget the whole thing. But yeah, so eventually she stopped. And then I didn't know what to do because I probably should have just walked out the door and went back to the car washing area. But I was thinking, if I do that, if I just try to walk away right after she got done yelling at me, that might set her off again. Because it was like, after she got done yelling, she was just staring at me angrily. So I felt like if I just turn around and try to walk away with her staring daggers at me like that, it's like if a bear was up in your face growling at you, just, being a bear, baring its teeth, growling, what do you do in that situation? If you turn your back on it, it'll probably just pounce on you. So you can't just turn around and walk away. So I didn't want to just walk away without saying anything because I thought that might start her up again. She was just staring at me angrily. She looked like she was waiting for a response, like she expected me to say something, or she was silently demanding that I say something. And I just wanted to get out of the situation. So I said, sorry, I won't do it again. And then she said something like, I don't care what you do. I'm just disappointed. So then I asked her, are you going to tell your uncle? Her uncle is the owner of the business. So I asked her, are you going to tell him? Are you going to tell your uncle? And she said, basically she said that he wouldn't care anyways because he likes me. And I mean, he did pretty much tell me his whole life story the other day. So, I mean, I guess he probably does like me. And I mean, also, not to brag, because it is a very easy job as far as actually remembering how to do everything when you're washing the car. It's physically taxing, so I would say it is hard work, but either way, all I'm saying is I am good at the job. I've only been there a few weeks, and I'm already probably the best worker in the entire place. And I'm not saying this to brag, but I'm just saying, yeah, the owner probably does like me just because I'm good at the job. Anyways, so basically she said that I'm not going to get fired because she said her uncle wouldn't care, even if she tells him what I was doing. And from the way she said it, it kind of sounded to me like she was implying that she's not going to tell him anyways. So that's good, I guess. So I don't think I'm going to get fired for this, although it could happen. But yeah, that's the life of a sub-5 male. In case any of you out there, you watch my videos and you wonder how bad could it be to be an ugly, unattractive, middle-aged man working at a car wash? How bad could it be? Well, this is how bad it is. You get some chubby bitch fresh off the boat from India yelling at you because your other coworkers pressure you into smoking weed while you're at work. I guess that's how bad it is, in case you were wondering. But anyways, so after that, after I got done getting chewed out like a little kid that just misbehaved, I went back outside to the car washing area, and Jamal and the other guy were there just, laughing their butts off because they could hear everything that was going on. They heard her chewing me out. So when I went back outside, they're both laughing like it's the funniest thing they've ever heard. And Jamal said something like, he was like, "Ooh, a lover's quarrel?" And I just kind of did a fake laugh or whatever. It's kind of embarrassing, but at that point, I didn't even really care that much. I had gotten out of the situation. I got away from this raging lunatic that was screaming at me. So, I was just kind of feeling a relief at that point. And, I'm sure it goes without saying, but I really don't like being in that situation where really what it reminded me of, there was a time I remember back when I was probably like 5 or 6 years old, when I was at Sunday school. The regular teacher wasn't there, so we had a substitute. And I don't even remember what it was that set her off in the first place, but she was just chewing me out. And I just remember feeling like, hey, I'm innocent here. I don't deserve this. I didn't do anything wrong. And I think I tried to stand up for myself. I just tried to defend myself as you would if you're like a 5-year-old child and you didn't do anything wrong, but somebody's yelling at you. So I tried to stand up for myself, and basically this substitute teacher, she grabbed my arm, and she grabbed my arm way too hard. And when I was little, I always had this thing where one of my arms would always pop out of socket. Like it would happen all the time. Like anytime I just fell down or just twisted my arm in a weird way, it would always just pop out of socket at the shoulder. So this woman grabbed my arm and it popped out of socket. Then I started crying because if you don't know, when your arm pops out of socket, it's not like an actual medical issue. You can just pop it back in. But while it's out of socket, it hurts really bad. Or I was a kid whenever this happened, so maybe it's actually not that painful. But as a kid, I just remember it hurt really bad. And, when your arm's out of socket like that, you literally can't even move your arm because it's like the ball and socket joint at the shoulder is separated. Like your arm is literally out of socket, so you can't move it at the shoulder. And it just hurts really bad. So she grabbed my arm, pulled it out of socket somehow. And so I was just screaming, crying, trying to explain to this lady that, my arm is out of socket. We got to fix this. And she thought I was lying. She thought I was making it up. And she was still holding on to my arm that was out of socket. And any slight movement that she made that caused my arm to move hurt really bad. It's like a very sharp pain. And I even remember I was trying to explain to her how much pain I was in and that my arm is out of socket and that she needs to let go of my arm because it hurts really bad. And I remember she wouldn't even let me talk. She just kept shouting over me. And she just kept holding on to my arm, which made it hurt worse because, like any little movement is when your arm is out of socket, it's just like searing pain. Or that's how I remember it as a kid. So I don't remember how it happened exactly, but eventually she called my mom to come pick me up. And when my mom got there and I told her my arm was out of socket, my mom just popped it back in for me, and that that just fixes the issues. Like I say, it's not actually like a medical problem. You just pop it back in socket and then it's just 100% fixed and there's no more pain. So my mom got there, she popped my arm back in socket, and then she was really mad at the substitute lady, not at me. And my mom yelled at this substitute, and I'm pretty sure she actually got the lady fired because, yeah, I never saw that lady again after that. So I think she got fired, or at least they never hired her again to come sub. But yeah, the way that the Indian girl was scolding me today, when, yes, technically, if you want to be technical about it, yes, I did technically do drugs at work. Okay, so if you want to be technical about this situation, I did technically do something you're not supposed to do. But it's a car wash. I work at a car wash, so I don't know why it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you work at a car wash, you should be allowed to smoke weed, or at least nobody should actually care if you do, because it's a car wash. So for her to be scolding me like that, it was like, I haven't really had an experience like that since 30 freaking years ago, when that dumb bitch at Sunday school yelled at me for whatever. I don't even remember. Pulled my arm out of socket. So, I mean, it's not really a big deal, because I guess there's no actual repercussion. Like, I'm not getting fired or anything, probably. And, the other thing is, I really shouldn't be surprised by any of this, because I've already been known that the Indian girl has a kind of a rude personality in general. I mean, she has some kind of personality or anger issues, because she's always kind of rude to everybody, pretty much. Even like she's not necessarily rude to customers, but she's also not very friendly. Like she's not as friendly as you would expect the customer-facing, customer service position person to be. So basically, I already know she's not really a nice person, and I usually don't get treated very well by women in the first place, just in general. So thinking about it logically, I guess it was kind of bound to happen eventually. And I'm sure the real reason why she picked me out of all of us that were there to be the one that she goes off on, probably just because I'm sub 5. And Jamal and the other guy we were working with, they're normal looking. And I'm not. I'm ugly. So, yeah, that's what happened at work today. And I don't remember if I even mentioned this already, but yeah, at the end of the day when we were all leaving, Jamal told me that LaFonda never texted him back. So that's why I don't think anything's going to be happening there, which is probably for the best. Like, something about that whole situation seems a little bit fishy, but maybe she really is just a hoe. Maybe she's really just a hoe, like Jamal says. I don't know. Maybe that is the real explanation. But yeah, I mean, I guess Jamal will let me know if she ever responds. And at this point, I'm like 95% sure that I will do it if the opportunity's there. Because, I mean, it's like, if I catch syphilis or something, then whatever. Fuck it. At least I got laid, and this would probably be the last chance I ever get at this point. So even though it seems like it's a weird situation, it is definitely kind of suspicious, but I don't think there's any, like, I don't think there's any kind of scam going on here, because I don't think that Jamal would do that. Obviously, it's not like I know him that well. We just work together, but we do work together. And he's been working at this place for like at least a couple of years. He's been working there a while. So I don't think he would just like pull some kind of scam like this with a coworker. That just doesn't, I just, yeah. Because it would, if they were doing some kind of thing where they're trying to like set me up to rob me or something, like it just doesn't make sense. Because I don't think that Jamal would have any reason to assume that I have anything valuable to rob. Because I work at a car wash. I work at the same place he works. He knows how much money I make. And he knows it's not much. And it would also, yeah, we work together. It would be very easy for me to just call the police and locate him because I know where he works. So the situation seems suspicious, but I don't know. I don't know why a beautiful black queen like LaFonda would be willing to do it with me, but that seems to be the situation, I guess. Or, at this point, maybe, I guess, I'm thinking she changed her mind, but yeah, I don't think it's some kind of setup. So, yeah, like I say, I would do it because it's probably going to be the only chance I'll have at this point to get any kind of action. So, like, I feel like it would be stupid to pass it up if I have the opportunity. So, who knows? It might happen. I think it's probably not. But all in all, I don't know. I was going to say, I had kind of a bad day, a bad day at work, which, I mean, I guess I did. I don't like being scolded like a child. I don't like being yelled at when I don't feel that I really did anything wrong. Some of you might disagree. You might think that I deserved it. But in my opinion, I didn't really do anything wrong. And even if I did, it's not really her responsibility to yell at me for it. If she really feels that I did something I shouldn't do, then she should either just tell her uncle or she could speak to me like an adult about it instead of talking to me like I'm a child. I feel like that would have been the more reasonable response. Because the way she was talking to me, I can't even imagine talking to a person like that, no matter what they did. I just wouldn't talk to someone like that. If I felt that type of anger towards someone, that I would have like an urge to talk to them like that, I just wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't say anything. I would just, like, I can't even imagine it. Like, I really can't even imagine talking to somebody like that. And yeah, it sucks. It sucks to get chewed out like that by just, she's not in a position of authority over me in any, you know what I mean? And it's a car wash job. Like, she should know, like, okay, this guy is in his mid 30s or something, or she might think I'm older, She's probably, because I look older, she's probably thinking, this guy's like 40 years old or something. And he works a nearly minimum wage job at this car wash. So she should just assume, taking all that into account, she should think, he probably doesn't give a rat's ass what I think about him smoking at work. It's like, don't you think that would cross your mind? Like, a middle-aged man working for crumbs at a car wash probably doesn't give a fuck what I think about what he's doing at work. You'd think that thought would cross her mind. I don't know. But yeah, to be honest, I'm not that upset about it. This all happened just a few hours ago, by the way. But yeah, it's whatever. I'm not that mad about it because it doesn't matter. You know, the more I go through life and the more experiences, the more sub 5 experiences I have throughout my life, the more I realize it's just like none of it matters. None of this matters. Nothing matters. Like it, you know, I feel a little bit embarrassed. Like it's like a little bit humiliating every day when I pull up to the car wash and I just get out of my car and go into work. And then, customers come in, they bring their nice, new, fancy cars into the car wash for me to wash them. And it's always a little bit embarrassing when it's like somebody my age that comes in and they see me working there at the car wash, and it's like, I feel like a loser. And it's kind of embarrassing. But it doesn't matter. That's what I realize more and more. None of this matters. Nothing matters. So, I don't know, whatever. If you like the video, subscribe or like the video. Thank you for watching. If I have any more updates with LaFonda, I'll let you know. I'll update y'all, but whatever. I'm going to bed.